Hello, guys, welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message reads like this. Hello, my brother, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? So, my brother, I was a woman who got married to a husband that was very responsible. My husband, he had been married before, and when he met me, he told me that I looked so mature, and he said that since I had been married before, it meant that I knew what I wanted in life. And yes, at that time, my brother, before I had came across a lot of pressure, I was a woman who wanted something good to do with her life, and I knew that if this man was going to pay for the bride price, then I was going to be a dedicated wife to him. We promised each other great love, and we got married, my brother, when I was still there staying in the village in back in our country. My man then started working in the city. He was working as a taxi driver. Quickly he then spoke with his other friend who was also working as a cross-border truck driver. He started working as a cross-border truck driver until he found work in South Africa. My husband then shifted and he started working there in South Africa. Whilst he was working there, he then said that he was no longer doing the cross border route because each and every time that he was going to Zambia, he would then pick me up so that we can spend some time together since he was always chasing the Lords. So family time was not a lot, so we would always enjoy ourselves in his track. So now that he was only doing local Lords in South Africa, he said, I think that it is far much better that you come and stay with me because I do not want us to be separated from each other for a very long time. And my brother, when I was still back home in Zim, I can agree that there were a lot of men that knew my situation, that knew that I was always hungry for a man that would try to come so that they can seduce me. But I knew what I wanted to do with my life. I would deny them. But when I arrived in South Africa, I don't know if it is the change of environment or what was going on. My husband, he had already found a place. This was in the suburbs, and at the place where we were staying, there were a lot of guys that were staying there. They were mixed from different countries as well as South Africans. Most of them, they were single guys that were hustlers that were earning a lot of money. My husband, he was the only one who didn't have a car. It then happened that I used to watch these guys, as a woman here and there, you just want your husband to spoil you, to be romantic. But our men from Zim, they are less romantic. All they want is to make sure that they just take care of you. But when it comes for the romantic time, they will tell you that I am trying by all means to provide for you to put food on the table. That is the way that they think is for a man to be romantic is by him going to work and giving you money. So, my brother, I then started to lust after the men that I would watch, those ones that were staying at the same apartment where me and my husband were sharing. There was this other guy who was not a South African, from another African country. He was way above his head when it came to romantic. Each and every time when he would bring any of his many girlfriends, I would see that the girl will be holding some gifts, and this thing, it really started affecting me. It affected me so much that this guy, he was just a hustler who never went to work. So sometimes during the afternoon he would bring some of his girls and I would be just watching them, and I would open that other curtain, then I would leave the other curtain whereby you won't be able to see what will be going on in my house, and I'll be just watching that guy as he will be with his girlfriends, because what he used to do is that he would open his own windows and you would see him just grabbing his girlfriend as the girlfriend will be cooking. So this made me to lust after that guy. I didn't love him, but I just liked this style. He was very romantic, and each and every time that it was only me and him at the apartment. When I would see him like just sitting outside, when he would be on his phone, then I would wear a very short skirt. You know, when you wear a short skirt and you do not wear anything inside, one can actually see a lot of things. Then I would go outside. So at the place where we were staying, there was this other big sink outside where we used to do the laundry if the washing machine was not working. I would go there with a few clothes, then I'll start pretending as if I'll be washing. When I would have finished washing, I would just do some moves whereby when I just bent down a little bit, you could see a lot of stuff. This guy, I saw that he was really impressed by me, but he didn't know what to do anymore. I said, so what am I supposed to do, my brother? You know, the devil is very evil. You can actually put a lot of plans in your brains, because one day I then went into town. When I was in town, I ended up buying a pliers, that one that they used to cut some wires. When I was home alone, when I saw that the guy, he was also busy doing his washing, I then went there after he had finished doing his laundry. I then took that pliers and I cut down that washing line, and I pretended as if I wanted to hang my own laundry. I called him, since he was the guy who was only present. I called him. I rushed to his place, and when I knocked on his door, I was already opening up the door, and I said, you have to run, you have to run, because your clothes, they are very dirty. So this guy, when he heard me saying that your clothes are very dirty, he was in bed, and when he woke up, he forgot that he was not like wearing anything, and I just saw that he had a big package. And from there on, my brother, we started to communicate using body language. Sometimes when you would be walking past me, even when I'll be with my husband, the way that he would look at me and smile, that was the same way that I would look at him and smile, until one day he proposed love to me, and he told me that he was in love with me. So me and him, we started dating in secret. And when I saw that this thing was now affecting my marriage because of the way that I was handling my husband, I said, what am I supposed to do so that my husband can never find out? Because he was such an investigative, more because I didn't want my husband to find out. I was scared that the day that he was going to find out, he was going to do something bad to me. And already this guy, I had been sleeping with him. So my brother, when I returned back home, I spoke with my sister, because me and my sister, we tell each other the most of our darkest secrets. Even her, when she cheated on her husband, she told me, and I gave her advice, and I told her that everything that she was doing, it was just bad. When I returned back home, me and my sister, one day, we were just busy in the fields, because it was during that time whereby it was the raining season. So I told my sister that I had done a mistake, and this mistake that I had done, each and every time when I was now sleeping with my husband, I was now comparing him with that guy that had a very big package. And this was making me like to treat him in a very bad way, because to me, he seemed as if he was no longer a capable man that could handle me properly. My sister then told me that if I wanted something so as to control my husband, there were some herbs that had been given to her. She even said that this was the reason as to why my brother in law, who was her husband, had ended up forgiving her, because of the charms that she had been given, so that she can use those charms after she had finished bathing, so that when her husband will be looking at her, she will just you will just feel guilty as if he was the one who did something wrong. My sister then took me to this other lady. So this lady, what she did is that she gave me some meat, but this was dried meat. She said, you can go and give this to your husband, and your husband, once he has eaten this meat, he would never suspect you. Even if you do something wrong, he will never say anything about it. I then waited for my husband to send me money so that I can return back to South Africa. And after that, I returned back to South Africa. I then gave him that dried meat. I don't know if it was the meat that was taken from a dead person, or if it was just meat that he had been taken from a hunted animal. My husband is someone who really loves or my husband was someone who really enjoyed eating dried meat. After I had given him the dried meat, my husband then started to suffer with heartburn. And this thing, it started when I gave him that meat that had the love potion. From there on, he got so sick, he could no longer eat. When he would eat something, he would start vomiting. We went to so many doctors, my brother, and within a month, my husband, he had grown so thick. If there are people who grew up in the village, they know that if a cow eats plastic, the way that it will get so skinny, you will see that there is something that is wrong with this animal. And I started getting really afraid. I went to different prophets, and one of the prophets then told me that the charms that I had given my husbands, they were the charms that were going to kill my husband if I do not confess. I said, never, I will never confess, because by confessing, then it meant that I was going to expose myself. So I ran away from my husband. I left him whilst he was sick like that. I told his relatives that for a very long time he had been cheating on me, and I had grown tired of him cheating on me. And this was just a lie, because I was just creating a fake story so that I can run away from my husband. I then found work. I was now working for this other Indian family. I worked for a very long time as a stay-in housemaid, but I felt so guilty. So what I'll do is that whenever I would be free, I would go so that I can be with my husband, just to take care of him. But my brother, I did something that was really cruel, because one month, this other time, after I had gotten my salary, I spoke with some guys who had a bus that was traveling between South Africa and Zim. I spoke with them and I told them that if they were willing to carry my husband, I would give them money. They said it is fine, but we want someone, since you are saying that your husband is very sick, we want someone that can assist us along the way, just in case if he gets really sick. I said, no, there is no one. So I gave them extra money. I then took my husband one day. I told him that we were supposed to go to the doctor. Me and him, we went to the bus rank, and I lied to him that I wanted to send some grocery to our kid back home. I then left him whilst he was sitting there. Since he was really sick, he said that he was feeling a little bit dizzy, and I told him to get into the bus, and he sat down. What he didn't know is that I had already bought the ticket for him. And when he saw that I was no longer coming back, those guys then said that no, you cannot get off the bus, because I had lied to them that he didn't want to return back to his country, and I wanted him to return back to Zim. So they said, we are not going to let you out of the bus until you would have arrived at your destination. That is how I ended up dumping my husband. My husband, when he went back home to Zim, they said that when they went with him to the doctor, they found out that he had cancer and he could not survive. This is the way that my husband passed away.